I mean, I'd be remiss not to start with where things finish, right? The cannoli that came out at the end of this course, proverbially speaking, because look, from our perspective, there's this historic, unprecedented vote. It comes down to Cedric single-handedly picking between you and Say, and we get this very impassioned plea from Say. From you, we get like, make the decision for what's best for your game. You're welcome at Luigi's anytime. I think a lot of fans perceive that as, I wouldn't say giving up, but certainly compare it to Say you kind of backing down. Talk to me about your perspective behind that. Was that your perception as well?
I think the edit showed it that way, Mike. But I mean, as you know, these tribals go on for hours, and I guess like we broke the record in terms of how long we were there. And you know you're in for a long one when you get a commercial break halfway through. So there was a lot said, especially on my part, that was not shown, unfortunately. And you know, I know the editors have a very difficult job. You know, you're cramming a lot of information and trying to tell the story in a short amount of time. Um, I think it was shown that whatever I told Cedric in the moment stuck initially because he was willing to keep me around even after finding out that I had lied to him. I did lose my vote, but I do think there were some powerful conversations that ultimately didn't make the edit, and it was his decision in the end. And
Yeah, elaborate. What were some of those powerful conversations or like some of the big points you were making in your favor that nearly kept you in the game?
I think I told him that, listen, he and I were day one, and I really wish that our relationship was shown more throughout the show because he was the first person I talked to. He came up to me. I actually helped him off the boat, and I think that's what kind of spawned this friendship. This, you know, I say the bromance, and you know we were broing out together. But it was just such an unlikely duo. You have the long-haired pizza guy from the north, and you have the colorectal surgeon from the south, and it's like these two people would probably never work together. They'd probably never even interact unless they were in this situation. But he and I think a lot alike. I think we both don't like variables. I think we both don't like to see change. I wouldn't say we're risk averse, but I would say we take calculated risks. And part of that was doing the math in my head. This was like a 2 or 3% chance that all of these things could have gone wrong. And in my head, I'm like, I have such a good rapport with Cedric. He has told me countless times he will vote with me regardless of what happens. He will always be by my side. He will never write my name down. And he'll always stick with me. And I'm like, this is everything I want in an alliance member. I know that I can beat him in the challenges when it comes to be that point. I know that if we ever get to a jury situation, or final tribal, I should say, no one's going to give a doctor $1 million over, the friggin' pizzeria manager. So granted, I'm thinking very long term, but I'm also thinking of somebody who I can talk strategy with, who's very rational, who's doesn't freak out. The only thing with Cedric is he does not like when plans change. He's kind of steadfast and headstrong in that sense. And that wasn't something that I wanted to risk, just that layer of trust. And I'm like, listen, if Mary goes home, she goes home. It's three of us. Hopefully we can stick together. I think we had a very, very strong bond. And I'm glad that came out in his confessionals last night. But if things go wrong here, I still think that we can get Say out. And even though I didn't have a vote, I still controlled the first 3 rounds of voting. I knew where every vote went the entire time I was there, Mike, except for Say's rogue vote on Kevin in the second tribal council. But other than that, I knew where everybody's vote was going. I knew who had a vote. I knew who didn't have a vote. And I was comfortable in that situation. I wanted to set myself up with, I knew that this was going to sink, this ship, the Vula ship. It wasn't like a matter of if, it was just kind of when. And I'm like, I can either go down with the ship or I can grab as much as I can and grab Cedric, my partner in crime here, go onto a lifeboat and get the hell off this island. And that was my idea. If the two of us stick together, it doesn't matter if we have Mary or Say. We can kind of still navigate this as a three. It didn't matter either way, as long as the two of us stuck together. And I think he saw that, and I think he committed to that.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe illuminating a bit on that. What would you say is the biggest thing that you wished we got to see from this tribal council? Because, like you said, longest tribal council, it sounds like, in Survivor history, round after round after round. Talk to me through your perspective. Were there some moments that didn't make the edit that you wish we got to see that was even more of a perspective into the madness?
Definitely, and I just think it was those bonds that Cedric and I had, and I don't think anyone else really saw it. I think Kevin mentioned it when he had his conversation with you about how close the two of us were, and I really think that's what kind of saved me. Even though I withheld information from my number one, granted it was like I said a calculated risk. I know that in the new era, the odds aren't great if you tell somebody you lose your vote. You know, you have no agency. You're kind of a sitting duck. You're an easy vote. I think Say kind of caught on to that. But I was like, let me keep this good rapport with Cedric, who is my number one. Let's figure this out together. And I really think those social bonds kept me through those initial rounds of voting.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Kevin. I'd be inclined to talk about, to your point, perhaps, substantiating your powerful status, the fact that from our perspective, it seemed like you were able to turn the vote onto Kevin. You were trying to make this 2-1-1 happen that ended up turning into a 3-1 due to Say. Talk to me about that choice because this seemed like open and shut case. Mary doesn't have a vote. We'll just all pile on her, but you were becoming wary of what Kevin was trying to do.
That was what I told Cedric, and that was to kind of strengthen our social bond. But Kevin and I would get water every morning after we woke up, and we would get water every night before we went to bed. And that was our time to just kind of reconfirm what we already said, but also catch up and fill each other in on anything else that happened. And when we got back from the second challenge, the water challenge last week, I was like, dude, like let's go fill our water bottles. You know, that's like Survivor talk. Like let's figure out what we're gonna do before we go to vote. And he was just in so much physical pain. I give him so much credit for staying in the game, not only competing, but just being there present. It's remarkable. And I knew that he would never quit under any circumstance, but there may come a point where there's medical intervention and he's pulled from the game. So in my head, I'm like, all right, so if we vote Mary tonight and Kevin goes home after the vote or tomorrow
Oh.
morning, we're down to three people, Mike, in the first 5 or 6 days. It leaves me with Cedric and Say in the middle. Granted, we were trying to flush her idol, but had she didn't play it, she's going to play it at the next tribal council. Cedric and I would vote against each other. She picks which one she wants to go with, and our destiny is out of our control. If we do this, we leave Mary without an ally. We take that risk of Kevin being pulled from us away, and we also keep that conflict between Say and Mary, who will never work with each other. And it puts Cedric and I in the ultimate swing position. We can choose, hey, tell me what's best for you. I don't care which one we work with. I like both Mary, I like Say. But let's figure out what works best for both of us and keep that bond between the two of us, that strategic relationship, and kind of pivot like which way do you want to go going forward? I'm fine either way. I like both Mary and Say. You tell me which way you want to go, and I'm good with it.
Really, really interesting. So let's talk about Say, because again, it seemed like you, Cedric, and Say were locked in, through this chaotic vote. And we saw a lot of Cedric and Say connecting in this last episode. What about the two of you? Because to your point, we got a lot of content in this first couple episodes of people approaching you, being like, I don't know about Say with this idol, and you're even acknowledging about the power that she had there.
She's definitely a dangerous player, and I respect her game. I respect her hustle. I mean, she's out there playing incredibly hard, which is great. I just don't know, Mike, especially in the new era with every twist and turn, and as we see, there's a swap coming up soon. I don't know how that will translate long term. And that's what I was kind of clocking. And I'm saying I can pin myself to Say, I know she'll get a vote at every tribal council, which she has so far. And then hopefully, if we get to a swap or a mergatory or a merge, and I'm not in well with either Lagi or Siva, we know that like that war is going to come. Both of them had like first round buys through the first week of Survivor, which is crazy to think of. But they're gonna need an army. They're gonna need to recruit people, and who better than like the Vula losers? But I'm saying if there comes to be a point where like they're wary of me, I'm like, listen, Say is kind of running things on our tribe. She's a big target. Do we want her as a presence on a jury? Let's work together and use her as the vote tonight and try and draw myself into another group that way. That was my plan. And I think we kind of saw it in a way with 47. It just didn't work out the way that I was hoping to. And it was a matter of the craziness that happened last night that we all saw.
Well, I need to talk about you coming back from this journey and the cover story, making the neutral box look like 40 chests of the red question marks and the white question marks. And obviously, to your point, what we were just talking about would say she is someone who is very wary of even if you're telling her the truth. So talk to me about what led to this cover story and what was sort of your perception of how other people were reading the story that you were giving them.
It was such a dumb thing, Mike, but I was saying in my head, like, I have limited time here on this boat before I get back to camp. I have to think of something quickly. And I'm like, what relates to dice? I'm like, gambling, skill, a game of chance. You know, what don't we have in this game? Luck. We had no luck at all, literally. So I'm like, here's a chance to change your luck. Like, let's kind of flip it. Here's a chance to kind of give you some good fortune. That's what I was kind of thinking. And that's, I'm not a huge gambler, but we do like to play dice sometimes as a friend group. So I'm thinking along those lines. I'm like, what keywords can I get from dice? What keywords can I get from gambling? What keywords can I get from playing that game of chance? So that's what I was that's what I was thinking. The journeys, I'm seeing a lot of talk online about, it's not fair that we had to forcibly play this game. Because granted, Mike, if I had a chance, there was no way at all I was playing. There was no need.
Right.
If I had a vote, I'm still in the game. And I knew that I needed my vote that night. That was the only tribal where I was in trouble. And I knew that for a fact just because if something happened with Mary, I was going to be in kind of like that perception and that limelight, and there was a chance that I could go home. But the other thing is, I know it's a part of the game, and this isn't Survivor 41 and Survivor 48. This is definitely a part of the new era. It's been deeply ingrained in this new type of Survivor game. It's just if you're a good enough player, you can kind of counteract that. And I thought I made the right moves. The first three votes, like I said, went my way. It was just that verbal vote that kind of sealed my fate. But I don't have any problems with production or in terms of like forcing you to do this. Like I said, I knew the rules of the game. I still chose to willingly go out there and sign up and play said game.
So then on that note, I mean, again, as you are sort of walking out, you have this gratitude towards Jeff. And I would imagine, if other people were in that situation, they might be, belligerent to say the least. And so talk to me about where that sort of attitude came from on your way out. Was it still shell shocked about everything that happened? Or to your point, was it more so acceptance of like, listen, Survivor comes down to a lot of luck, and I have been facing very recently over the past day in that game how much luck can factor into your fate?
I just think it was a combination of factors, and it was the powerful conversations that we had, which didn't make the final cut, but also just kind of Jeff has been in our family for a long time. He's been with us for every previously Thursday night and now Wednesday night, and now that this is out there, I was supposed to be out here last year playing this, and something came up during casting with my health that I was able to figure out only because I went through the process. And Jeff spoke on this, so I feel like I can come out and say it. But he stuck by me. He stuck by me.
Wow.
Casting stuck by me. Production stuck by me. The network stuck by me. They gave me a chance when they really didn't have to. There's no shortage of applicants. There's no shortage of people who want to go out there and do this. I'm very lucky to have been in the realm of this for a couple years, and I finally got that chance. And granted, I only applied once, Mike, but I waited until I was ready. I wanted to make sure everything was good with the restaurant, with my family. Even like
Hmm.
I called my neighbor a week before I went out to do this. And I'm like, "Oh, Mrs. Johnson, like, is everything okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, like, why wouldn't it be?" I'm like, just checking in. But I wanted that peace of mind knowing that like I had no regrets. I had no one to think about or have to take care of or feel selfish that I took this chance for myself to better my friends, my family, my business. That was what I wanted to do. And Jeff is a big part of that. And I cannot thank him enough.
That's so beautifully expressed. So wait, just to clarify, so is that you were in casting before and in getting a health check, it was then discovered that there was something going
During the
on?
casting process. And it was my heart has an enlarged leaflet. So like if you look at like a knuckle, Mike, or like a fist, one knuckle is
Yeah.
raised. So there was a chance that like something out there could happen that would be really, really bad, like a cardiac episode. All of that got cleared. But I would have never known this had I not applied to be on Survivor. So in a way, it's good. You know, it may have saved my life. I have no idea, but it's just like a crazy thing that you would never know until you go through the casting process.
Wild. Wow. I mean, we came
Insane.
in with surprises around your exit, and then you bring another surprise to us, Justin. You are a man that is full of them. Thank you so much for everything. I mean, you know how much I relish the time that we get to chat both on and off island. And again, look, a lot of different players can have a lot of different reactions to everything that went down, but the fact that you have come out with your head held high, and again, so much gratitude about what this experience has brought to you in so many different ways, as we're now discovering. It's really admirable. So always great talking with you, man.
It was
And
a lot.
please give my best to you and your family as well.
Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of everything to do with Luigi's, and I'm
There's
looking
always a
forward to
treat
what.
for you at our table. I hope you know that for you and
Oh,
your family.
absolutely, absolutely. I will
And
be
green looks
there.
good on you.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, likewise. Well, all the best to you and Luigi's and the family in and out of the store as well. And thanks so much again, Justin. You have a good
Thank you,
one.
Mike. I appreciate it.